Hi, hello, what's up? My name is Liz, and you're watching For Booking Out Loud. So, I realized this morning that I might have planned myself into a little bit of a hole. I am currently participating in 3 readathons, and I didn't intentionally plan that. It just kind of happened. I currently am in the middle of the Sherlockathon, which is going until November 15th. I wanted to participate and am participating in Nonfiction November, which is the whole month of November, clearly. And then, of course, I wanted to participate into Indigathon, which is, again, the whole month of November because of Native American Heritage Month. But that's a lot of books that I need to read, and a lot of different books that I need to read. And I had other plans for this reading vlog, but those quickly got scrapped when I took inventory this morning. I mean, first of all, for Sherlockathon, it is November 6th, and I still haven't read any of Sherlock Holmes. So, yeah, that needs to get started this weekend. So that's one plan, to maybe read a good chunk of this guy. They're short stories, so I'm hoping that it'll go pretty fast. And then I did just start reading Devil in a White City, The Devil in the White City, this morning. But today I had a really interesting equity meeting with my admin, and I don't know if I'm truly invested into this book enough, and I might just switch over to Why Are All the Black Kids Sitting Together in the Cafeteria? Because I'm kind of, I think I need a little bit of equity in my life right now, just because of how teaching is going. So I'm still debating between these books. And then last but not least, for Indigathon, I'm meeting with Amy from A-Star Reads on Sunday to talk about the first 100 pages of Mongrels by Stephen Graham Jones, and I still haven't started that book. So that needs to happen yesterday. Yeah. But just because these are books I kind of buried myself in doesn't mean I'm not excited for them. I'm truly excited to read all of them. I just need to get rolling and do it. I mean, Indigathon is something I'm very passionate about, and I'm really excited to do all the reading I want to. I've already finished one book for that readathon, The Night Watchman, which was a gorgeous book. And then, of course, the Sherlockathon has been going on since the middle of October, so I've been steadily working my way through 11 of those books. That's just something I'm doing. It'll be an exciting weekend, I hope. At least 3 books I have my eye on, and I can only read about 100 pages of Mongrels, because that's what Amy and I have decided on. So really only 2 books. So stick around. We'll see how this weekend goes. Hey. So today being Saturday, I've taken it a little bit easy. I was up having coffee this morning, and then I helped my mom and we looked at a house for my parents, which was nice. I'm hopeful they're gonna go see it again tomorrow. We'll see. But reading-wise, I've gotten some good reading done. Regarding Sherlock Holmes, I've gotten a little bit of the way, and it's more in short stories. Remember, this book was more news short stories released back in 1880s, I believe. Yeah, the 1880s. And so I'm focusing on trying to finish a couple of them in between my other reading. They've been okay. I haven't really been enjoying them that much. I mean, A Scandal in Bohemia has been my favorite so far, and even then I wouldn't pick it up again. And that's the one with Irene Adler, if you're unaware. But I've gotten through 5 short stories, which in this book is about 80 pages. And I just had to set this book down because they're okay. I just don't think they're my style. That's all. Now, on the other hand, one second. Sun in my eyes. Now, on the other hand, Why Are All the Black Kids Sitting Together in the Cafeteria has been phenomenal. I've only really gotten through the prologue and the introduction. And the introduction is 70 pages in the 20th anniversary edition, because she takes over and talks about what are racial relations and what's been happening in the past 20 years since she released her last book. So that includes a lot. She focuses on the last 10 years, really, with the Black Lives Matter movement, police brutality, the 2008 election with Barack Obama, the 2016 election with Donald Trump. And it was a really good overreaching summary. And then she ends it in just such a beautiful way. She started the introduction with, "Are things better?" And then she ends it by saying, really think of a kid that's born in 1997 and then what age they were during all these events, whether it's during the economic collapse of 2008 or Trayvon Martin and then Eric Gardner and George Floyd, Michael Brown, and then obviously the Donald Trump election of 2016. And then she said to rephrase that question onto that generation that was born in 1997. So is it better to them? And then what did they experience during those times in history? So it's a very divisive question to a lot of people. Are race relations better? For some, they would say yes, and for some, they would say no. And she just goes through this whole era. It was just a lot of information, and again, about 70 pages. She mentioned a ton of books. She went through a ton of information, and I don't know if I hadn't done a lot of research, if I hadn't, been born during this time, if I would have truly followed her. But she does do a really good job. And then, of course, right now I'm in the introduction to the book. Sorry, the prologue of the book, which is just, why is she writing this? And what is its purpose? So not that far into it in the meaty part, but I've been loving it so far. And that's my update. I have not picked up Mongrels yet. That is my number one goal for the night. I need to read 100 pages of Mongrels by Stephen Graham Jones because I need to do that. Good evening. So, this evening was good. I was able to watch President-elect Biden's speech and Vice President-elect Harris's speech, which was nice and hopeful. And then I finished the evening out with watching the first Ducks game of the season, Oregon Ducks. College football. Interesting experience. But book-wise, I did end up finishing the first 7 chapters, or about the first 100 pages of Mongrels by Stephen Graham Jones. I don't want to talk too much about it, but it was definitely an interesting start to a story, and I really like the concept. It can be really, really heart-wrenching, and I really like how Graham is going between different ages throughout the chapters, but he's just a very beautiful writer, and he has incredibly good descriptions that really stick into your mind. And I'm really starting to enjoy him as a writer. I loved The Only Good Indians. I finished that earlier last week. But I finished that one earlier, and that one was intense, to say the least. I haven't had a horror book quite stick with me like that before. And so I'm excited to get into my second book by him and then talk about it with Amy tomorrow. I don't have Why All the Black Kids Are Sitting Together in the Cafeteria with me, but I am absolutely loving it. I love how the author is going through periodically the different terms that she'll use and why. And she definitely takes examples, explicit examples from her own life, whether that was when she was a professor or raising her own kids, to demonstrate why a certain point is being made. And I think I'm only 3 or 4 chapters into that one. It's about 130 pages. So still a little bit of ways to go. And then in regards to Sherlock Holmes, I'm making progress. Again, they're like little short stories because they were short stories that were published in a newspaper in 83, 82, 83, 84, around that time. And I just finished like the first section of the Sherlock Holmes story. It's called The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, normally. And it's a series of 12 stories, and it was published between July 1981 to December, did I say 1981? July 1891 to December 1892. So about a year and a half, these 12 stories were published. And so that gets you to around here in this book. Now the next section is the memoirs of Sherlock Holmes that was published for a year after that, so December 1892 to November 1893, so that year afterwards. And that's going to be 16-ish stories. So that's just the mechanics of the book. I'm not personally finding interest in these stories. I'm going to try to go through the next couple of short stories and see if the interest picks up. And if it doesn't, I'm going to skip ahead to The Hounds of Baskerville, which is the short story that was published outside of the newspaper from Sherlock Holmes. And I do want to finish The Hounds of Baskerville because that's a very, very iconic Sherlock Holmes story. But these little ones, nothing stands out to me. There's no mystery that's really engaging me, and I think it's the language that's being used in the book. I've been trying to figure it out. And just how short the mystery is, I'm not really invested in the characters the mystery is supposed to be surrounding with. And I know Sherlock Holmes and subsequently Watson are supposed to be the main characters and the ones that you're invested with because of Sherlock Holmes. But they're kind of two-dimensional for me. You never really hear much about Watson, and I knew that going in. And Sherlock Holmes himself is just a white male lord from the 1890s London, or a wealthy Englishman. There's nothing really interesting about him to engage me, and that's what I'm finding out about these stories. So I'll do that tomorrow. I'm gonna read a couple more short stories and try to dive into the Hounds of Baskerville. And if that's not engaging to me, I'm gonna DNF this book because I just don't want to, I'm not gonna say waste my time, but I don't want to continue on something that I'm not having fun with. And that doesn't mean it won't be there for me to pick back up later when maybe I'm more interested in this language, or maybe Sherlock Holmes and the characters are more engaging. And it also might be my fault for trying to marathon all these stories, one right after the other, rather than just engaging in one at a time. But that's my update. I hope you all had a wonderful Saturday as well. And I'll update you tomorrow. Have a good night. This book is great, hands down. As you probably saw in that last clip, I am tabbing this thing like there's no tomorrow. I'm just finding so many good quotes and so many interesting things, interesting facts that I want to remember for whenever I'm reading it again in the future, and I think I will pick this up in the future. There's just so much to unpack. There's so much to think over. And she packs in a ton of information in this book. I have about 50 pages left, so not quite done. And I think I will finish tonight. But as an example, the last chapter I read was all about finding your identity in a different racial group other than a Black American. And she specifically identified many groups, which could be books in themselves, but it was Latinx, Native American, Asian American, Pacific Islander, and Middle Eastern and North African identity development. And it was a hefty chapter, I'll give her that. But again, they could be books on their own, so it was very surface level, but she was still able to really dig down and go deep inside each of these identity developments and how they're experiencing racial discrimination, not just in the classroom, and at schools, but in the United States society. But B, how educators can help students find their racial identity and feel acceptance in the classroom and at school. Really, the advice she gives is applicable to everyone in society. And I can see where the edits she made are for the 20th edition, because 9/11 didn't happen until 2001. So that was after the 1990 book was released. And so her Middle Eastern and North African section was definitely updated, and I truly appreciate that, along with all the other racial identities that she identified with were updated. But I can also see where the information was taken from her older edition, because a lot of these issues that she is talking about aren't new. And again, that was just the last chapter. This is a good book. This is a very, very good book, very informative. Yeah, a lot of tabs. I'm excited to see what the last couple chapters bring, and especially her epilogue. Tatum specifically mentions in her intro that her epilogue is supposed to bring a sense of hope to this novel. And I just want to see where that is. But I will update you later. So it is Monday, and it did take me until Monday to finish what I wanted to read this week, and that's just life. So I finished Why Are All the Black Kids Sitting Together in the Cafeteria by Beverly Tatum yesterday, and it is amazing. So many tabs, so many good parts, and I think I've said everything I wanted to say about it throughout this weekend vlog. But regardless, it is amazing. You should pick it up if you are even thinking about picking it up. It is worth every little bit of your time. Yes. And why I'm ending it on Monday instead of Sunday, I wanted to finish what I said I was going to finish about Sherlock Holmes. I got to The Hounds of Baskerville and about 3 stories of the third part. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3 stories of The Return of Sherlock Holmes, which was published between October 1903 and January 1905. I'm gonna end it right there. I mean, I am so close to finishing this behemoth of a book, but I have other things that I need to read, and I finished what I want to. I'm going to say DNF in my Goodreads review and give each section that I did end up finishing a review, which I think The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, I'm going to give overall a 2, just because I personally wouldn't recommend it. I know people out there absolutely love Sherlock Holmes, but overall I think I'll give the first third, so The Adventures, a 2. The Return of Sherlock Holmes? The Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes is going to be a 1.5 from me. And I did finish The Hounds of Baskerville, which is almost a book. It might be considered a Sherlock Holmes book. I'll give that one a 2 as well. It was more engaging than The Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes to me, and honestly more engaging than The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes to me, just because it was a longer story. But again, I wouldn't recommend it to anyone personally. I feel like there's better mystery stories out there. And that's just me. I know they're very iconic. It was nice to read the origin stories, but they're just not for me. That's all I can say. So overall, this huge behemoth of a book is a DNF for me, and that's just it. But I'm excited to continue on and read different stories and different books like I always do. But I hope you enjoyed this and have a wonderful day. Bye.